What do you mean, Mu'taz, federal and government level? Huh? Eh? Eh? Be? So this is an example of separation of powers. Good. Maram, Mohsen, Malik, Mariam, have you got anything to add to what Mu'taz has said? Yes? Are you here? Yeah? Okay. So Mu'taz has spoken about separation between states and central government, states, governments, and central government. Can you tell me, can you give me another example of separation?
Hello, Miss.
Yeah,
The separation between powers, like the legislative, executive, and the judicial.
très bien. That's it. Donc, are you all listening to me? Malik, Maram, Fayruz, yes? Mahsen, okay? What about the others? Beh. As we dealt with religion and with the founding myths of the American society, we'll do the same thing with politics. شو معناتها؟ معناتها we will find ourselves systematically comparing what the founding fathers used to have in their mother country and what they had the ambition to create in the United States. Okay? Donc, we will be faithful to the same approach. احنا ايش قلنا when we talked about religion? We said that the founding fathers fled their mother country because of, among other reasons, but one of the most important reasons was religious persecution. يعطيك الصحة معتز. They were seeking religious freedom. هذاك علاش in the constitution they did not refer to any official religion. هذا متفاهمين فيه. This is what the text says. Emma, we have also explained that because those founding fathers, absolument Malik, so it ended up by being paradoxical. You're totally right, because they were, à la base, they were religious people. So they did create the famous concept of superiority, religious, social superiority, whether we like it or not, of the WASPs. Okay, so that's why the first immigration waves did meet many problems of integration, because they حتى ولو even though ما نحكيش على the first waves معناتها نحكي على the second waves, people who came from the Mediterranean, people who came from East, South Europe, وما زلنا نحكي على European people, but because they were Catholics, not Protestant, because they did not speak fluently English. They did not manage to fit into the mold. وتتذكروا قلنا اللي it was starting from the post Second World War that things started to change. That metaphor of melting pot of wasp superiority started to be called into question. D'accord, ولينا نحكيو على salad bowl, etc. إما till today the paradox is معناتها is there وشفنا les examples معناتها the president معناتها to officialize his nomination. What do you mean by complementary, not identical, معتز? Yeah, they complete each other and yeah. Absolutely. هذا هو. Donc قلنا the paradox is there as far as religion is concerned. توا باش من in order not to lose the leading thread قلت أنا اللي while dealing with politics will also refer to what the founding fathers used to have in their mother country. What political system did they used to have in their mother country? In England, for instance. Sahit, yeah, it was a monarchical system, indeed, Mu'taz. Can you elaborate on this? What is meant by Malik? What is meant by a monarchical system? Others try to interact. Fayruz, Mahsen, Mariam, why don't you use the mic? Guys, Maram.
Yes, the monarchy is ruled by one single person who controls the state.
That's it.
State.
Donc, yeah. The monarch has absolute power, indeed, and there was kind of complicity between the monarch and to arrange this absolute unilateral control. The monarch did have the support of which institution? صحيت يا مرام. The church. Okay? Donc, et d'ailleurs, نقول لكم نعاود لكم. See, if you have the chance to watch the series The Tudors, please do it. Okay? باش تفهموا معناتها ايش معناتها this complicity between the church that validated all what the monarch did. Et bien sûr, the monarch was untouchable because he enjoyed or she enjoyed the blessing and the protection of the church, which would mean indeed Malek, yeah, the church was very powerful. علاش على خاطر it created the institution of the church created this concept of absolute power, absolute and untouchable power. And that it reinforced the idea that the monarch was placed above everything. The monarch is on the top of the pyramid. The monarch was the representative of God on earth. Okay? Donc, that was the situation. in England, not only in England, معناتها in all Europe. واحنا ايش قلنا؟ قلنا the founding fathers they were معناتها not only religious people, they were intellectuals. They had a whole brand new project. Donc, when we speak about politics, their project was to put an end to the monarchical system and to give birth to a new system. علاش أنا كل مرة نرجع بيكم التالي على خاطر you will find out that the new system that they set up, that is the political one, was in total contrast with the old system in their mother countries. Okay, I use the plural for a country because that was also the case for Germany, that was also the case for French, that was also the case for Holland. Donc أنا نحكي توا على le noyau معناتها the first network of the people who created what the United States today, the WASPs. Okay, all of them came from monarchical systems. قلنا monarchical system was based on one power, on unilateral power. كما قال as Mu'taz has said, the people, the governed people, did not exist. Okay, they did not have any right whether to vote, whether to choose their governor, or to call into question any of his policies. Donc شو عملوا؟ they created something very different. أول حاجة عملوها, they built the whole thing on a system of separation of powers. شو معناتها separation of powers؟ معناتها they put an end to this amalgamation between church and politics. وهذاك علاش one of the reasons they did not give birth, one of the reasons that they did not mention any religion as official in the constitution was that, okay, in order to avoid giving religion any more power, any more rights to be involved in political matters. Donc, and a government ذي مهم برشا, وما عادش نحكيو على the monarch that did everything. وهو راهو حتى وقت اللي تقراو على the monarchical system, the monarch did have a council. كان عنده مجلس كما نقولوا احنا مجلس يتشاور معاه, معناتها a council that the monarch would consult to carry out any measure or to give birth to a law or whatever. أما في الحالة الكل, the last word was to the monarch with the blessing of the church. Donc الأمور ما كانتش واضحة. With the creation of the American political system, things become much clearer. You have a government with three distinct branches. Donc, they created a government consisting of an executive branch headed by the president and a vice president. The legislative branch. Donc, the role of the executive branch. What is the role of the executive branch, by the way? What is the role of the president? um, Mu'taz, veto is one of the powers given to a president. ايش معناتها الفيتو؟ بعد باش نحكيو فيه احنا. الفيتو باش نحكيو فيه في in relation to another principle اللي هو checks and balances. In fact, the president has the power first to propose legislations. معناتها ينجم يقترح قوانين، مشاريع قوانين. attention خاطر we talk about نحكيو على مشروع قانون because it becomes an official legislation after being validated by another branch. Donc, the president can propose what we call bills اللي هو مشروع قانون. هذه الحاجة الأولانية. والحاجة الثانية he has the power نستعملوا هي خاطر so far we have only a male presidents in the United States. He has the power to execute the laws enacted by another branch. بعد نشوفوا the president has other powers. Okay, donc when we speak about laws, the laws are dealt with and worked on in the legislative branch اللي هي السلطة التشريعية. And the legislative branch is represented by which institution? Which branch, which institution represents the legislative branch? السلطة التشريعية شكون؟
The court.
Parliament.
The court.
Attention, who has said the court? معتز?
No, me.
محسن? Hey. Mohsen, the court represents another branch. Okay? هي تمثل the judiciary branch, السلطة القضائية. Donc, parliament is a European term, okay? The equivalent of parliament in the United States is Congress, okay? Donc, and Congress consists of more than 300 persons, okay? And Congress itself is divided into two chambers. هذا كله نعطيه لكم in notes. عندك the House of Representatives and the Senate. Okay? Donc شو معناتها؟ معناتها على خاطر أصعب حاجة في نظام بلاد is the enactment of laws. هو تشريع القوانين. يقول لك احنا سورتو اللي هما they were haunted by this idea of having just one person اللي هو the monarch monopolizing everything, making laws, abolishing laws, adding new laws, and معناتها for most of the time the laws served the interests of the monarchy more than the interests of the people. Okay? قال لك يا خويا احنا to put an end to this tyranny, to this despotism, to this monopoly, احتكار القوة, to this monopoly of power in the hands of just one person, we need a big council. قال لك يلزمنا مجلس موسع اللي هو الكونغرس. Pas seulement ça, they divided the Congress into two chambers. زوز غرف. عندك the House of Representatives represented the states according to the number of its population. شمعناتها? Par exemple, I would say I will give just an example at random. If we take the state of New York, well, we know that New York is one of the largest states in terms of population. دونك يقول لك يا أخي معناتها وقت اللي نحكيو على تشريع قوانين it would be unfair that a state je dis n'importe quoi نعطيك un chiffre ما عنديش le chiffre exact of the number of population of New York a state with 50 million inhabitants would have more chance to participate in the enactment of a law than a state مثلا I say the state of New Orleans for example merci beaucoup 8.4 million thank you I'm not good at figures ça je le reconnais donc I've been given the exact number of inhabitants for New York. Donc, I take another state, New Orleans in the south, which is a smaller state. I give a figure at random with 2 million inhabitants. It is unfair that New Orleans and the United States would have the same chances, would have the same shares in the participation of the enactment of a law. إيش عملوا هما؟ خلقوا the House of Representatives اللي, by example, the state of New York would have 8 seats عندها 8 مقاعد in the House of Representatives because the number of representatives is proportionate to the population. نمشيو New Orleans, which is kind of 2 million inhabitants, it would have just 2 seats على خاطر it is proportionate to its population. Is that clear so far? So far so good?
Yes.
بيه. دونك بالنسبة للسنت شو عملوا؟ قالوا وديما نحبكم تحطوا في بالكم اللي هما they were obsessed by the fear of recreating a tyrannical system as they used to have in their mother country in England. قالوا يا خويا احنا باش ما نظلموش the small states, the representation in the Senate would be equal. Whether you have 4 million inhabitants, 10 million inhabitants, and another state that would have just 1 million inhabitants, the representation in the Senate is equal. Every state has 2 seats, زوز مقاعد. Okay? وكيكا خلقوا, they created kind of a balance between what they call big states and between small states. And when we speak about big and small, it was in relation to the number of its inhabitants and its population. Donc, this is the legislative branch. حاجة أخرى قال لك making laws is one of the most problematic, crucial, sensitive acts وإلا مش. Okay? Donc, هذاك علاش قال لك it should not fall into the hands of just one person اللي هو the president. يلزم a council with many people, it is more than 100 representatives between the House and the Senate that would be responsible for the enactment of any law in order to avoid any suspicion or any case of tyranny. اوكي دونك هذه السلطه التشريعيه. The third distinct separate branch was the Supreme Court. اوكي اللي هي السلطه القضائيه. بالنسبه للسبريم كورت اي ثم ان ديتاي that I forgot to tell you وديما حطوا في مخكم ديما as a background. You have systematically to compare the system that they created with the old system that they used to have in their mother country. Donc ما عادش the head of the country is there, is on the top of the pyramid because he or she inherited the title, as it was the case in the monarchical system, because it was a system. It was a hereditary system. ايش معناتها؟ معناتها all the powers were monopolized by the royal family. If the king dies, it was his son or his daughter that would become the monarch. Whether he or she was qualified for that very important post, مش قال لك معناتها it has to remain in the hands of that royal family. هما الحكايه هذه الكل they put a hand on the hereditary monarchical system. Everything was based has been based on a system of what in the United States? To become president, to become member of the صحيح matters by voting. Answer by election. Okay, and it is the governed اللي هما the ordinary people that used to be erased اللي كانوا ممسوحين. They did not even exist for the monarchy. هذوكم they have the right to elect their president وإلا to elect their representatives in the legislative branch, whether in the House of Representatives وإلا in the Senate. وحاجة أخرى which was revolutionary at that time معناتها in the late 18th century, if the governed اللي هما المحكومين were not happy with the performance, with the political performance of their president وإلا of a member of Congress, they have the right to remove him or her. Okay, معناتها إذا كان the president for instance proved to be unqualified خلقوا a system of removal. معناتها they put an end to his office as president اللي هو the impeachment باش نحكيو عليه من بعد en detail. Okay, توا نرجعوا to the judicial branch represented by the Supreme Court. قال لك السلطة القضائية معناتها is equally an important institution, an important power. What is the role of the Supreme Court according to you? شنو دور السلطة القضائية؟ It has something to do with crimes, not only crime. Oui, Nadine?
Justice.
What do you mean by justice? باش نقرب لكم احنا مشكلتنا في تونس توا شنو؟ المشكلة الكبيرة اللي ديما نسمعها في الأخبار يقول لك وين مرتضى؟
المحكمة الدستورية.
برافو عليك. المحكمة الدستورية هي سي ليكيفالون ايتي ذا ايكويفالنت اوف ذا سوبريم كورت. احنا في تونس توا علاش الامور معلقة وكل مرة يقول لك كان جات عندنا محكمة دستورية ما راي الوغي ترونشي في الموضوع هدايا وهدايا. دونك شو معناتها؟ شنو هو دور المحكمة الدستورية حسب رايكم؟
باش تحاسب الرئيس كان أخل بالواجبات نتاعو أو أخل بالدستور.
اي صحيت يا مرتضى. معناتها المحكمة الدستورية which is the Supreme Court هي اللي تقول لك your act is constitutional or not. معناتها it is the guard, c'est le gardien, it is the guard that decides whether the decisions or the acts made by the executive branch represented by the president or by the legislative branch represented by Congress are constitutional or not. معناتها هي اللي تقرر إذا كان القرارات اللي ياخذهم الرئيس ولا السلطة التشريعية في إطار احترام الدستور وإلا لا. هذيك عليه اسمها محكمة دستورية. اوكي دونك نادين معتز the role of the Supreme Court is to decide whether the acts of the president or Congress are constitutional or not. ايش معناتها هي اللي تسيج لك c'est une sorte de grillage كأنك عملت دار ودورتها بحيط. الحيط هذاك باش يحمي الدار اللي داخل. دونك لو غرياج هذاك ولا اللي هو ولا لو مور اللي باش يحمي الداخل هي المحكمة الدستورية على خاطر تنجم توقف اي ديسيجن ياخوها البريزيدون اللي تنجم تكون في مصلحته هو والا اي قرار ياخذه كونغرس اللي نجم يكون في مصلحته هو اما ما يخدمش والا ما يحترمش الدستور. اوكي دايوغ هذه من اكبر الليتيج والمشاكل اللي عايشينهم في تونس. ما عندنا حتى we don't have any body, any judicial body that decides whether an executive or a legislative act was constitutional or not. Okay donc شفت عملوا خدمة ريزا the founding fathers. معناتها هذيك علاش قلت لكم راهو معناتها they created a project for the United States not only for the 18th 19th centuries. لا معناتها they created something that would survive and would thrive centuries ahead. Protector and supervisor at the same time. يا ملاك هذا هو. Donc the Supreme Court is a protector of the constitutional boundaries le siège اللي قلت لكم عليه and supervisors على خاطر it controls the acts of the president and the Congress. Okay donc خلقنا شيء donc خلقنا un gouvernement مسطر. et d'ailleurs الجمعة الجاية déjà I will send you notes today plus the text that you will work on for next week يلزمكم تخدموه and you will find out that every branch was clearly in the minute details set up. معناتها بالديتاي دو ديتاي. اوكي دونك هذا at the level of نسميوها احنا federal government والا central government. معناتها le gouvernement الكبير that represents the United States as a country. Okay donc 3 distinct branches. Every branch is separate from the other. Okay قال لك هما دونك هذه حاجه عملوها. At the beginning معتز evoked the term federalism. وقت اللي هما when they were drafting يعملوا فك الاسكيز كاينهم يعملوا في اون توال والا ان بلان وقت اللي كانوا when they were working on the structure of the government ديما they were also obsessed by the fear of creating a tyrannical system. على خاطر هما عانوا برشا they suffered a lot from tyranny in their mother country. قالوا the power should not be exclusively in the hands of the central government اللي هي represented by the president, Congress and the Supreme Court. قال لك لا هذايا ينجم it would create kind of a new version of tyranny, kind of new version of despotism and of monopoly of power. Et surtout اللي هي اسمها the United States. Donc it was a number of 51 states that were united, but at the same time every state was an entity in itself. Okay, donc قالوا احنا we have to respect this kind of autonomy, this spirit of state sovereignty. معناتها يقول لك كل ولايه عندها لا سوفرينتي نتاعها، معناتها عندها علويتها هي زاده، ما قلت سوفرينتي بالضبط sovereignty in Arabic، اما عندها it's kind of autonomy. ايش عملوا؟ In addition to the central government, they created the same version of government in every single state. شو معناتها؟ معناتها every state has a government with the same structure. It has a governor, الوالي بلغتنا احنا. Donc the governor is the representative of the president in the states. Okay, donc هو the head of the executive branch. It is, yeah, indeed, Malik, it is like a mini government. Donc the executive branch is represented by the governor. The legislative branch, the equivalent of Congress in at the level of the country, they created state legislature, معناتها mini Congress, okay, with the same structure as it is the case for Congress. The equivalent of the Supreme Court, المحكمة الدستورية, they created a state court, a court made of judges coming from the state. نسيت حقا concerning the Supreme Court, the only exception is with the Supreme Court. The members of the Supreme Court are not elected, as it is the case with the legislative branch and the executive branch. يقول قائل علاش if they had opted for a participatory system based on participation from the people, why they did not apply this to the Supreme Court. علاش مش tout le monde الجماعة متاع الشعب هما زادا اللي ينتخبوا the Supreme Court. يا سيدي the founding fathers كما كان عندهم تخوف من from the fact of creating a new version of a despotic tyrannical government, زادا كان عندهم نوع من التخوف من monsieur tout le monde, من ordinary people. وهذيك they inherited it from معناتها their Puritan heritage. تذكروا وقت اللي حكينا على spirituality and religion وقلنا كيفاش the Puritans created a strong link between religiosity and hard work and personal accomplishment or whatever. يقول لك the harder you work the closer you are to God. وش يقولوا الناس اللي the lazy people الناس اللي ما تخدمش the idle persons are haunted. Ils sont habités by the devil على خاطرهم ما يخدموش. دونك هذوما ناس there are people that we cannot trust. معناتها هما كان عندهم التخوف اللي مسيو تو الموند ينجم يمشي بأهواء ويمشي أكثر بالليزيموسيون تاعو. Et and for the choice of the Supreme Court, it is very important to have wise, enlightened people to do that. هذيك علاش the members of the Supreme Court are not elected, they are chosen. وإلا they are proposed by the president. هو يختار أسامي أما the final decision is in the hands of Congress. معناتها هو يقترح عنده قوة الاقتراح. أما the names that he would suggest cannot be officialized if Congress do not validate. Okay, وهذا باش يهزنا un autre principe من بعد باش نحكيو عليه. Donc the exception is with the Supreme Court, whether the Supreme Court at the state at the level of the central government وإلا حتى at the level of the state government. The members of the state court they are proposed by the governor and those names should be validated by Congress. يقول لك هما ناس they are enlightened, they are wise enough, donc they are more informed than ordinary people. Donc huma they can be much more liable and much more reliable in the choice of the members of the Supreme Court. Donc نرجعوا لفكرة state government. Donc they created another balance. يقول لك كيما the central government has the power to rule government. I think foreign affairs. I think foreign affairs. I have to read. I think foreign affairs. Donc this is the remark of Malik. I think foreign affairs, finance, and armed forces. These powers must be held by the main Congress. However, the rest is held by the states. ملاك اليوم أنا قاعدة نعطي فيكم في I'm giving a general kind of general introduction. We'll get to the details. Yeah, there are in fact when we speak about the central government versus the state government باش نلقاو three types of powers. There are powers that are exclusively held by the central government كيما foreign affairs كيما as you have said Malik is the military affairs. These are affairs that are held just by the central government. And there are affairs that are exclusively state affairs. معناتها the central government ما عندهاش الحق باش تدخل فيهم. ديما ناخذ example هكا that comes to my mind. The legislations related to homosexuality, to same-sex marriage. This is a state decision. This is a state law. For instance, there are states that validate same-sex marriage, whereas other states they do not. Okay, one of the most famous states is California, the state of California, that validates same-sex marriage. ايش معناتها؟ معناتها people of the same sex can get married pas seulement ça, معناتها they have the same civil rights as معناتها an opposite sex couple, male female. معناتها عندهم they can inherit, they can adopt, they can do whatever. In other states this is not constitutional. Donc هذوما there are powers devoted exclusively to the state, and there are what is called concurrent powers اللي هما powers shared by both the state and the central government. هذوما اللي ديتاي الكل باش نشوفوهم. اوكي دونك هذا هو the federal system. ايش معناتها هذا federal system؟ it is, you're welcome Malik, it is the system of sharing power between the central government اللي هي معناتها the federal government and the state government. علاش the founding fathers, why did they create this system? It was a way to preserve the rights of the people to govern themselves by themselves, to be involved in the shaping process of their legislations. تذكروا شيء when we dealt with the founding myths of the United States, of the American society, وحكينا على the phenomenon of creating of being part of being member in charitable organizations, associations. وقلنا وقت اللي حكينا على do it yourself mentality، كيفاش هما يحبوا يريقلوا معناتها يحلوا مشاكلهم وحدهم، معناتها عقليتهم عكس عقليتنا. احنا عندنا الفكره اللي الدوله هي اللي لازمها تعمل كل شيء، خدمنا تريقل امورنا الكل على خاطر هما ربيونا هكا، على خاطرنا تخلقنا في دوله اللي individual initiative is not that معناتها placed معناتها given the value given the necessary value that it deserves. علاش؟ على خاطر تربينا في دولة تخيل هي اللي تنجم تعمل كل شيء، تحل المشاكل كله، واحنا هاكا نتبعوا. كانت الامور ماشيه توا معناتها لا سيتواسيون اللي ان بو كاوتيك، على خاطر قعدنا تيغايي ما بين العقليه ديك اللي الدوله لازمها تعمل لنا كل شيء، ما بين العقليه وما بين الواقع اللي يوريك اللي هي الدوله عاجزه واللي ما تنجمش تعمل كل شيء، وما بين الواقع الاخر اللي لو سونس دينيسياتيف ما تربيناش بك ثقافه اللي نجم نعمل حاجه اخرى، نجم نعمل انجلي وبعد نمشي نعمل مشروع في حاجه اخرى. دونك risk taking spirit ما ربوناش عليه، سي مالوغو. دونك يلزمنا نلقفوا رواحنا. به دونك نرجع لفكرتي. دونك قلنا اللي at the state level فما the sense of strong sense of community life، معناتها يعملوا يخلقوا organizations for donations, charitable associations, etc. علاش؟ على خاطر they developed strong sense. هو معناتها they inherited it one generation from one generation, the fear of having a big government. شو معناتها big government؟ معناتها government that does everything for a capitalist system le gouvernement يعطيك باليد هذه اما يجبد لك باليد الاخرى. A big government معناتها a government that imposes heavy taxes معناتها تثقل كاهل المواطن بالتاكس بالضرائب باش تنجم تبني لك المدارس، تعمل لك السبيطارات الباهين، تخلق لك a sound and solid security system, etc. Donc, Americans are very suspicious about that. هذيك علاش they wanted always to limit the role of the government. يقول لك يا خويا the government should essentially deal with security affairs, with foreign affairs, with military affairs, social programs, social projects. هذوكم تخليهم معناتها those should be state معناتها state affairs. معناتها each state has got its aspirations and its needs that can be different from the aspirations and the needs of the other state. Donc they created a complex but very comprehensive system of governing. You have a government composed of 3 distinct branches: executive, legislative, elected for specific terms. نشوفوا les détails نتاعهم. And a Supreme Court appointed, if we may say so. They created the same version of the central government as the state government in order to promote and guarantee and protect the state autonomy and the state sovereignty. Okay? Is that clear? So far, so good?
Yes.
مريم، مرام، محسن، معتز، ملك، مريم. C'est bon? Très bien. Super. Ben. فما un autre point. احنا هذا الكل توا اللي قاعده نفسر لكم فيه باش on va le fignoler. I will send you notes باش تقراوهم ومن بعد احنا on va we will discuss them together in class and we'll be dealing with texts. The second principle that I want to finish with اللي هو the principle of mutual control. احنا على خاطر so far قلنا the system was based on separation between 3 distinct branches, whether at the country level, معناتها the central government, وإلا at the level of the state. قال لك يا سيدي احنا خلقنا 3 distinct branches أما those branches should cooperate. يلزمهم يخدموا مع بعضهم. Not only cooperate, should control each other. على خاطر ديما هذيك ترجعنا للفكرة اللي هما they were haunted. ils étaient hantés مرعوبين من داخل. The founding fathers that one day this democratic system can evolve into a despotic, tyrannical system. Donc هما سكروا toutes les failles. They did not leave any deficiency and they created a very cohesive معناتها متروس فهمت system in order not to leave any void in order not to pave the ground for tyranny and despotism to develop. The system of mutual control سموها checks and balances. Okay, donc شو معناتها to check? What's the meaning of to check? Give me a synonym to the verb to check. To scrutinize. Oui. scrutiny هي التمحيص. هي سي ديكورتيكي معناتها كيما تاخذ حاجه وتفركها. لا not examine أي oui معناتها you put under a loop تغزر باللوب supervise oversight ملك yeah in a sense قاعدين تقربوا to check investigate hey sometimes we can go far نجموا نبعد ونمشيو حتى investigation to control okay to check it has also the meaning donc to examine oui معناتها ما تخليش حاجة تتعدى هكاكا to supervise in a sense that معناتها each branch should have the impression that it cannot act on its own. L'exemple اللي خذيناه مثلا of the Supreme Court هو صحيح it is the president that chooses or proposes members of the Supreme Court. Emma, his choice cannot be official if it is not to scan, inspect, yeah, indeed. His choice cannot be officialized if it is not validated by Congress. Donc, شو عملنا لهنا؟ الكونغرس checked or checks the choice of the president معناتها scans it, inspects it, examines it, supervises it ومن بعد تقرر ومن بعد Congress would say okay we will validate donc شيخلق هذايا it creates kind of balance between the branches معناتها each branch cannot have the final say ولا the final word in a decision okay each branch absolutely it is a way Malik to limit the power of each branch donc each branch has specific powers but those powers are controlled by the other branch d'ailleurs أنا tout à l'heure باش نبعث لكم notes that I have found on the internet that they are interesting they are about the checks and balances I want you to read them thoroughly because we will scrutinize and discuss them next week okay so examples of checks and balances etc so yeah Murtaza
could we say watch their behavior
hey yeah watch their behavior their decision معناتها you have to place it within the framework of the founding fathers great care for creating a transparent balanced system of governing okay معناتها the power should be based on mutual consulting and mutual control ما ثم حتى branch placed above the other branches okay وحتى باش نشوفوا احنا قلنا for السلطة التشريعية Congress it is true that Congress is responsible for making laws هو اللي يشرع هو اللي يعمل قوانين اما those laws become official laws only after being validated by the president ما تشوفوش انتم ساعات في حتى كي هكا تسمعوا الاخبار ولا حاجه ويبداو يحكيوا كيفاش المجلس ساعات يعمل يقدم مشاريع قوانين للرئيس اما الرئيس يرقدهم اوكي سي دون سو سونس لا معناتها على خاطر فما حتى هما يقدموا مشروع قانون اما they have to be signed by the president to become laws به انت تنجم تقول لي اي به لهنا كي رقدهم le président the president it means that the president is having more powers than the legislative branch. نقول لك ليه؟ The president has a specific period. إذا كان يفوت une période bien précise, he can no longer معناتها that bill becomes systematically a law. إذا كان هو حب زعما يرقدوا ما يعينوش فيه because it does not answer his aspirations ولا whatever, ينجم يرقدوا أما pour une période bien déterminée. إذا كان يفوتها it becomes systematically a law. دونك تو لي ديتاي هذوما باش نبعثهم لكم باش تقراهم بالكدا ونحكيو فيهم plus the text, and please you do your text plus the questions. Okay, have you got any questions so far? C'est bon. Donc احنا we have presented two basic principles هما اللي باش نلقاو رواحنا في المده اللي قعدت لنا باش نقعدوا هكا نفرقوهم اللي هما the separation of powers and the checks and balances system. Okay, so I think that we'll stop here. Thank you very much. I will immediately send you the notes plus homework for next week. Any question? You're welcome.
Thank you, Professor.
Aishka. Okay, Mela, take care. Please do your homework and see you next week, hopefully in class. Okay? Bye-bye. Thank you very much. Bye.